And now, despite some conservatives praising the decision for allegedly limiting the government's power to regulate you under the Commerce Clause of the Constitution, there are new questions about whether this decision actually expands the Fed's power over your life under the taxation powers of the Constitution. Joining me now, Republican Senator Mike Lee of Utah, former law clerk for now Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito. Senator, welcome back to the program. And that is the position. There is a split now among conservatives, some defending Chief Justice Roberts, saying, well, even though he sided with the four liberals, he did write an opinion that refused to expand Commerce Clause powers. But folks like Levin and others saying you're looking at the wrong sections of the opinion, because if you look at what the court actually held, it is basically an expansive power without limit under the taxation powers of the Congress.
That's exactly right, Megyn, and that's why it's concerning to so many people who love liberty in America. People who understand that the government exists to serve the people and not the other way around. This is yet another example of the Supreme Court facilitating the unfettered expansion of Congress's power. Congress was, as you remember, Megyn, supposed to be a legislative body with powers that are few and defined, not numerous and indefinite. The modern Supreme Court has flipped that on its head, and we've got to rein this in now. We've got to do it through the political process by electing a new government, a new set of men and women who will recognize restraints on Congress's power. How
did it expand Congress's power to tax us? I mean, Chief Justice Roberts, according to his critics, redefined taxation in a way we haven't seen before. And in order to find a way to uphold this law, can that now be used by people like you who are in Congress against us, to find other ways to tax us? Because the court said, oh, you can't regulate people's behavior under the Commerce Clause, people's inactivity. You can't make somebody sitting on their couch do something under the Commerce Clause. But then thanks to Chief Justice Roberts, it said, but you can tax them for not doing it.
Yes, that's right. And thanks to Chief Justice Roberts' opinion, this is now what we face. And that's exactly why this puts this question back into the hands of the people when they go to the polls this November. The people have to decide what kind of government they want. We've seen what kind of government we don't want. The people need to go to the polls and say, this is the kind of government we want. We want a government that doesn't compel individual behavior by passing a penalty and then allowing a court later to affirm it only as a tax. I was hoping that the Supreme Court would do its job of restricting federal power. It didn't do its job. Now we've got to rely on the political process in order to fix this problem.
Jan Crawford Greenberg, who is an excellent Supreme Court reporter and has worked for a number of different news agencies, now with CBS News, reports based on two sources close to the High Court that the conservatives had Roberts. He was on their side. There were 5 justices poised to strike down this law, this mandate, and 4 out of the 5, not including Roberts, were prepared to throw out the law entirely. Then, she says, as time went on, Roberts flipped, and he went over with the liberal wing, not on the Commerce Clause, but to uphold the law as a tax, struggling mightily to find some way to uphold it. The suggestion by some is that that was in response to the enormous public pressure that was put on the High Court not to strike down the president's signature legislative achievement. And she points out in the piece that Chief Justice Roberts is known for paying attention to the media, unlike some of the other justices. Is it possible, in your view, Senator, that President Obama's public criticism of the court before they had their ruling, that the criticism by many on the left who supported this health care law may have actually gotten to the Chief Justice?
I try not to get into anyone else's head and speak for them for what they intended. I can't know what Chief Justice Roberts did or why he did it. But what I do know is that this opinion is written in a way that supports what Jan Crawford suggested. Now, Jan Crawford is usually right. I think she was here based on the way it was written. The dissent had several hallmark indicators suggesting that it was originally going to be a majority opinion. The fact that it wasn't signed by any one single justice, very unusual. The fact that it referred to the Ginsburg dissent as a dissent rather than a concurring opinion, which it in fact was. All these things, together with the overall tone and tenor with which it was written, strongly suggest to me that Jan Crawford is right and that this was supposed to be a majority opinion, and they lost the 5th vote.
I got to run, but I want to ask you quickly, as a former Alito clerk, do you think there was shock among the other conservative justices that they lost the Chief Justice on a case like this?
I strongly suspect that there was shock, just like there was shock among conservatives and Americans generally. John Roberts was a man who had a long track record of being an advocate of federalism. And then he issued this opinion that shocked us all, because this was not a decision that is friendly to federalism. This was not friendly to the rule of law. And I think it was wrong.
We're going to talk about it more in our next hour in this Crawford-Greenberg report, which is really explosive. Senator, thank you.